Trump is furious over videos that he says discredit him using artificial intelligence. The worst part is that according to Rick Wilson of the Lincoln Project, they didn't require any artificial intelligence at all. As it happens, Trump is quite adept at making himself appear absurd on his own. Because these parody advertisements were so personal to our former president, he had to have a very public outburst, which garnered 10 times as much attention as they otherwise would have.
Kids in Washington, they ran for office thinking they could be on the field, making a difference. Players in the big time, respected, powerful. Difference makers. Not anymore. Republicans have turned in their game uniforms and become cheerleaders. They jump up and down on the sidelines.
He's doing a lot by executive authority, which we applaud.
Green for the cameras.
He's in charge, and it's a great feeling to have him back in the Oval Office.
They know their role.
He's moving forward aggressively.
Before we continue, I have a quick favor for you. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this content. More than 98% of you view the videos without signing up. Although it doesn't cost you anything, it has a significant impact on us. Have you pressed the subscribe button? Fantastic, many thanks. Let's return to the video now. Have you ever wondered what could cause a former president to act like a toddler whose ice cream was stolen and have a digital tantrum?
In rhyme.
In rhyme? What do you...
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do. It's weird. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation, the beginnings.
It's more than awkward and embarrassing. It's actually dangerous. Having someone with his mental state, to me, is terrifying.
Take a behind-the-scenes look at the Lincoln Project advertisements that caused Trump to go completely crazy. These were not political advertisements from your grandmother. Trump's greatest fears were the direct target of these tactical missiles. Republicans who detest Trump, known as the Lincoln Project, created some ads that are so offensive they ought to be labeled as such. Republican senators enjoying their fancy government healthcare plans while supporting RFK Jr., the man who believes that vaccines cause autism and that Wi-Fi is melting our brains, was the subject of one of their most clever advertisements. It showed how these politicians with doctors on speed dial were perfectly happy to confirm an anti-vaccine nut to lead the Department of Health, while ordinary Americans are having to choose between dinner and insulin. Then, around January 6th, they released another incredible song. Trump referred to it as a day of love. Do you recall? It's not exactly what most people would call a love fest, unless you're into bear spray and broken windows. The Lincoln Project depicted the reality of people using zip ties to hunt down politicians, spraying chemical weapons, and beating police officers. This is where the genius comes in. They use humor to cover up these grave charges. It's similar to concealing medication within a donut. You're not making your typical political defenses when you're laughing, so the message gets through your fake news filter. The advertisements that compared Trump to Biden were the ones that truly made him lose it. Is there anything more intended to blow Trump's head off? They presented Biden as smarter, stronger, and more fit.
Full of his struggles and ramblings and rantings and mumbling and bumbling and stumbling. You decide. Take a look.
I find it awkward. I find it embarrassing. He's really in the early stages of some kind of senile dementia.
They've deliberately surrendered our border to vicious coyotes and drug smugglers. I mean, these drug smugglers, the smuggler.
Words guaranteed to make Trump's blood pressure skyrocket for a guy whose entire personality is built around being the biggest, strongest, and smartest person in any room. This was like psychological kryptonite. These ads didn't just criticize Trump's border policy or tax plans. Nobody actually remembers that boring stuff anyway. Instead, they went straight for his ego, mocking his appearance, and suggesting his brain might be turning into cottage cheese for a man who reportedly spends hours on his hair and makeup, who can't stop bragging about passing a basic cognitive test. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. This was the ultimate insult. The Lincoln Project knew exactly what they were doing. It's like they had a map of Trump's insecurity minefield and decided to do a happy dance right through the middle of it. They targeted his vanity, his intelligence, and his physical stamina, the unholy trinity of Trump's fragile self-image. And just like a fish that can't resist a shiny lure, Trump bit hard. He didn't just nibble. He swallowed the hook, the line, the sinker, and probably half the fishing rod too. The Lincoln Project set a trap, and Trump walked right into it with his golf shoes on. Speaking of traps, Trump's reaction to being called weaker than Biden wasn't just predictable, it was spectacular when most politicians might ignore an attack at our former president decided the appropriate response was to hop on Truth Social and unleash a digital tantrum that would make a toddler think, wow, maybe I should tone it down a bit. Trump didn't just get mad, he went full conspiracy theorist in his rage-filled post. He called the Lincoln Project members perverts and losers because nothing says presidential temperament like name-calling your critics instead of addressing their actual point.
President Donald J. Trump!
He's too old. He's out of touch, losing his marbles at an alarming rate.
They have sinks where no water comes out.
I do want to remind everybody, this is the guy that worked with the former Klansman.
I will be Donald Trump's most loyal advocate to make sure his nominees go to the Supreme Court.
You turn it on, no water comes out. You want to wash your hands, right?
Yeah.
And you've seen this, and you turn on the sink and it's...
But the real kicker, Trump accused them of using artificial intelligence to make him look as bad and pathetic as crooked Joe Biden. That's right, instead of admitting those unflattering images were just regular old footage of him looking well like himself, he invented a tech conspiracy. You almost have to admire the creativity.
It was the greatest honor, hero of the Soviet Union, awarded to those who gave their all to defend the motherland. Today, it is the hero of the Russian Federation. The men and women who have served the motherland's interests with great honor and distinction. Marco Rubio.
We're going to need to have functional embassies in Moscow and in Washington.
Tulsi Gabbard.
According to the U.S. government, these biolabs are conducting research on dangerous pathogens.
J.D. Vance.
I don't really care what happens to Ukraine one way or another.
And the greatest hero of our time, Donald Trump. These heroes know Russia is a peaceful nation that will never bow down to the decadent American values of what they call democracy.
Why blame your own appearance, behavior, or words when you can blame the robots? It's like blaming your bathroom scale for showing your actual weight after a month-long ice cream binge. The accusation would be hilarious if it weren't coming from someone who once had nuclear codes. But Trump wasn't done with his digital meltdown. He even went after Fox News for having the audacity to run these ads, writing that Fox News shouldn't run these ads just as low rating. CNN and MSDNC will not under any circumstances run negative ads on Biden or the Democrats. I'm sorry, but since when does a former president get to decide what a private news network can air? Nothing says I respect the First Amendment like demanding friendly media outlets censor criticism of you. The irony is thick enough to spread on toast. This is the same guy who constantly complains about cancel culture and censorship, yet here he is essentially saying, how dare you air content that makes me look bad? It's like a chef demanding Yelp remove all one-star reviews, while insisting everyone has the right to free speech. What's particularly revealing is how Trump's post included the line about making him look as bad and pathetic as crooked Joe Biden. This single phrase confirms exactly what the Lincoln Project was banking on, that Trump's most sensitive spot is any comparison suggesting Biden might be more physically or mentally fit than him. It's like they found his psychological kryptonite, and rather than play it cool, Trump essentially shouted, "You found my weakness. It burns. It burns." So did the Lincoln Project really use AI to make Trump look bad? According to founder Rick Wilson, that claim is as real as Trump's natural hair color. The Lincoln Project didn't need artificial help. They just pointed their cameras at reality. Trump's unfiltered words and actions do all the heavy lifting. What this meltdown really shows is a man so thin-skinned that even satirical criticism sends him into a tailspin. Most former presidents maintain some dignity. When targeted with attack ads, they either ignore them or respond with policy arguments. Not Trump. He reacts like someone who just found out his ex is dating someone who's taller, richer, and funnier. Trump's digital tantrum didn't just reveal his thin skin, it transformed those Lincoln Project ads from background noise into must-see TV. That's the beautiful irony here. By throwing a public fit about ads hardly anyone had seen, Trump handed his critics the greatest gift possible, free publicity that money literally cannot buy. Before Trump went ballistic on Truth Social, these ads were just floating around with decent but not spectacular viewership. They were another drop in the ocean of political content that washes over our feeds every day. Nothing special, nothing extraordinary, just another political group taking shots at a former president. But then something magical happened. Trump, who can't seem to help himself when his ego gets bruised, did exactly what the Lincoln Project was hoping he'd do. He freaked out publicly in the world of internet strategy. This is a textbook example of the Streisand effect, that when your attempt to hide or suppress something only makes it more visible. It's like trying to put out a grease fire with water. It just splashes everywhere and makes things worse. The numbers tell the story. After Trump's meltdown, social media metrics showed huge spikes in searches for Lincoln Project ads. People who had never heard of the Lincoln Project were suddenly curious about what it got the former president so worked up. What ads? I haven't seen any ads. Let me go find these ads, and off they went, multiplying the reach of these videos exponentially. Trump essentially became an unpaid promoter for the very content he wanted to suppress.
He can't finish a sentence.
Anonymous, really anonymous.
The man doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know where the exit is. He's not sure how to get through a speech.
Mr. President,
being corrupt and senile is even worse.
Old, outdated, retired, elderly, aging, senile, dementia, slow, confused, idiot, ignorant, sleepy, gaff, bumbling, bad, terrible, disappointing, joke, profanity.
Being corrupt is bad.
It's like if McDonald's paid Burger King to run their commercials, except in this case, Trump did it for free. All that outrage directed at the Lincoln Project only served to make their messaging more powerful. But the publicity train didn't stop there. News organizations that might have completely ignored these ads now had a juicy story to cover. Former president melts down over political ads. The media coverage created a second wave of exposure, reaching audiences who might never have encountered the original content. Even networks that wouldn't touch the ads themselves were happy to report on Trump's reaction to them. What makes this especially delicious is that the Lincoln Project clearly set this trap on purpose. They knew exactly which buttons to push to make Trump react. They're like those kids on the playground who know exactly how to get the bully to lose his cool in front of everyone. The Lincoln Project didn't just create ads, they created bait, and Trump bit down hard. The funniest part is that if Trump had just ignored the ads, they might have faded into obscurity. Most people would never have seen them, but he just couldn't help himself. His compulsive need to respond to every perceived slight caused him to amplify the very message his opponents wanted to spread. For political strategists, this is communication 101. Sometimes your opponent's reaction to your message is more valuable than the message itself. The Lincoln Project didn't need to spend millions on ad buys when they could just count on Trump to broadcast their existence to his millions of followers. And now those ads, which portray Trump exactly how he doesn't want to be seen, have reached far more eyeballs than they ever would have without his help. It's like he's standing on a stage pointing at the very thing he doesn't want you to look at while shouting, "Don't look at this." Well, guess what everybody's going to do? Here's what makes Trump's publicity backfire even funnier. It's not just Democrats having a giggle at his expense. The folks behind these zingers are Republicans themselves, and what's truly shocking is how many conservatives are secretly enjoying watching Trump squirm. The Lincoln Project wasn't born in some Democratic strategy room. These are battle-hardened Republican strategists who know exactly which conservative buttons to push. They understand the language that resonates with right-leaning voters because they spent decades crafting it. It's like having your own brother reveal all your embarrassing childhood stories at your birthday party. Nobody knows how to get under your skin quite like family, while Trump's ride-or-die MAGA fans predictably rush to defend their orange hero. Something unexpected happened among the broader Republican audience. Moderate conservatives and independents weren't just watching these ads, they were sharing them, some with laughing emojis, others with a simple "this is actually pretty funny" comment that says everything without saying too much. Social media tells the real story. Scroll through the comments and you'll find plenty of self-identified Republicans admitting these ads hit the mark. "I voted Republican my whole life, but this is hilarious," wrote one user. Others confess they're tired of Trump's grip on their party and found cathartic release in seeing him mocked. It's like that moment when someone finally calls out the office bully and everyone silently nods in agreement. More attention than they would have gotten otherwise. Oops.
Full of his struggles and ramblings and rantings and mumbling and bumbling and stumbling, You decide. Take a look.
I find it awkward. I find it embarrassing. He's really in the early stages of some kind of senile dementia.
They've deliberately surrendered our border to vicious coyotes and drug smugglers. I mean, these drug the smuggler.
Sentence.
Anonymous, really anonymous.
The man doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know where the exit is. He's not sure how to get through a speech.
Mr. President, being corrupt and senile is even worse.
Old, outdated, retired, elderly, aging, senile, dementia, slow, confused, idiot, ignorant, sleepy, gaff, bumbling, bad, terrible, disappointing, joke, profanity.
Being corrupt is bad.
What makes these ads so effective isn't just their message, it's how they deliver it. Humor works like a Trojan horse for political criticism. When people laugh, their defenses come down. That zinger about Trump's appearance or mental acuity slips right past the partisan force field that would normally reject any criticism before viewers can put their political armor back on. They've already absorbed the message and possibly shared it with friends behind closed doors. The story gets even juicier. Several Republican politicians have privately acknowledged these ads address legitimate concerns about Trump they dare not voice publicly. Yes, we worry about his temperament too. One Republican staffer admitted off the record, but nobody wants to be the next Liz Cheney. They're trapped between their own doubts and fear of Trump's vengeance, which only makes watching someone else say the quiet part out loud more satisfying. Are conservatives really laughing at anti-Trump ads? You bet they are. The Lincoln Project succeeded in creating content that speaks to voters across the political spectrum. It's not about changing diehard Trump supporters' minds. It's about reaching those Republicans who harbor private doubts but needed permission to acknowledge them. This humor creates a rare bridge across America's political Grand Canyon. People who fiercely disagree on taxes, healthcare, and guns can still share a chuckle at Trump's inability to handle criticism. Comedy temporarily suspends tribal politics, allowing a conservative voter to laugh alongside their liberal neighbor, even if only for a moment, by wrapping their critiques in jokes instead of lectures. The Lincoln Project found the secret sauce that makes criticism of Trump palatable to those who might otherwise dismiss it. It's like hiding vegetables in a kid's mac and cheese. They're consuming something good for democracy without even realizing it. So what's the real lesson here? The Lincoln Project has shown us that humor isn't just for late-night TV. It's become a deadly effective weapon in political warfare. When they turned Trump into the butt of their jokes, they weren't just being mean, they were using a strategy that political experts have recognized works surprisingly well. Remember, Trump can handle being called corrupt or dishonest. He's heard it all before, but what keeps him up at night being laughed at? The man who wants to be seen as the ultimate alpha male absolutely melts down when people point and giggle. The ultimate irony of this orange circus: every time old Donnie Diapers throws a fit about someone making fun of him, he only proves their point as we watch his campaign stumble forward. His biggest opponent isn't Biden or the Lincoln Project, it's the thin-skinned crybaby staring back at him in the mirror.